Welcome to TrailManners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for TrailManners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the TrailManners Podcast, episode number 90. Happy Independence Day. Hope you got your red, white, and blue on. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Today, I'll be speaking with none other than owner, founder, designer of Elevation Culture, Mr. Eric Chrisman. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The TrailManners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at TrailManners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome back to another edition of the TrailManners Podcast. This is episode number 90. I'll be your host today, Eric Manning. Joel's having sitting this one out. We're doing one via telephone again because there's just too many cool people across the globe that we want to talk to. So without further ado, it's time to welcome our guest to the TrailManners Podcast. We want to welcome Eric Chrisman from San Diego, California. Eric, how's it going today?
Good, man. Awesome. Here in now sunny San Diego. This morning it wasn't, but yeah, it's looking to be an amazing day.
See, and anytime I hear the word San Diego, the first thing that pops in my head is sun and beaches. So for someone like me, I think you always have the sun.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We had that marine layer that kind of rolls in and then it kind of burns off. And so, yeah, it's a bit different if you're not, here every morning. So.
Yeah. And this is one of my favorite places to visit with my family. I mean, we try and get out there at least every couple of years, and we've been blessed with good weather, but we've never come in the summer. It's always like, I don't know, November, December time frame. So it's not real warm, but it's still warmer than Utah. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And again, I'm not from here, so it's kind of new to me as well within the past 4 years. So
I guess that brings up something. Where are you from originally then?
I'm actually from Northern California. I guess the best way to describe it would be the gateway of the Sequoias.
Okay.
Is where I grew up. And I actually went to school near Yosemite. So it's kind of the best of the both worlds in terms of location. But I grew up in a small farming town. There's nothing but cows and farm. 90% of the food that's grown there is grown for the entire, world. And so it's a pretty desolate place, but at the same time, you have these amazing mountain ranges, within 30-minute driving range. So, yeah, that's where I grew up. And I've only moved to San Diego. I've been here for about 4 years now. And, being in Northern California, you get that exposure to the mountains, which is amazing. And that's where, my heart always laid. Growing up, we were always going and camping and just spending as much time as we can. And, my first passion really wasn't running, believe it or not. I actually started out playing soccer. And it's funny, a lot of runners, right? What do they say? I came from either like a soccer background or a hockey background.
Yeah.
And so anyways, that was my passion. I loved it. I lived it and breathed it. I was out there all night long until, my mom said, come inside, right? And my dream was to be a professional soccer player. And I got pretty close. I actually played for the Olympic development team for a few years. And, things went a different direction. I won't get into that story, but it really gave me that passion for running. It's something that we did tremendously, right? You run like 8 to 10 miles a game.
Yeah.
So, that's where it started. And, then, I kind of took a break, and just like a lot of our friends and family got into running by trying to either run to something or from something.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of right how I got into it. And I really discovered the distances, and it was more of a accomplishment. And so it's like, all right, half marathon, and then I learned, hey, there's this thing called ultra marathon, and I actually did my first one was on a marathon course, and then they took you off on a trail for 6 miles to complete it. So it was kind of different, but I was hooked immediately, and just kept going from there. And I was actually pretty fortunate last year to complete the Tahoe 200 miler. So that's kind of where I stopped.
That's quite the distance, and that's, it's funny. I feel this cosmic connection now with you. I mean, me and Joel that was our life for so long with soccer, and kind of the same path, played. Goal, obviously, be a professional soccer player. But I'm a little bit older, so we didn't quite have the league set up when I was younger. So it was always a dream.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting though, because when I played soccer, I hated running. Like, it was punishment when you're growing up. But when you're in a game and you're chasing a ball around, you don't realize how far you run. You just kind of go and go and go. And it is interesting what your comment there of a lot of runners you see. I played field hockey or lacrosse or soccer growing up. And it's a fun transition though.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I still play now, but it will always be there for sure as one of those first loves. So
yeah, I tried that a few months ago because it's still a love of mine. I love watching it, being a part of it. And I got back into the indoor scene a few months ago and had some hamstring problems, so I quickly backed off.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man, you got to be careful for sure. It's something that you haven't done in a while. Wow, that hurts.
Yeah, even when you're quote unquote, I think when you come from that background and you say, I'm going to take it easy, there isn't such a thing. I think instinct and love kicks in, and you just play, just the only way you know how. So
yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned your trail running background, and like we usually do on the show, we do our fair share of stalking. But I saw some results as early as 2011. Did you start before 2011, or was that kind of when things started to kick off for you?
Yeah, 2010, I believe, was my first marathon in Fresno, California, which is right there by Yosemite. And like I said, I immediately turned around that next year and did my first ultra, which was the same course. And then I immediately turned around in 3 months. I did my first 50 miler in Catalina Island called Avalon, which is an amazing island off of Long Beach. And it was by far the most amazing experience I ever had because, I came from an area that was relatively flat, and not training for that type of, elevation gain was humbling. But at the same point in time, I was like, man, I got to find out what's next. And so I did. Right. And so it's like, all right, we have these 100Ks and we have these 100 milers. And so I moved to San Diego, like I alluded to, about 4 years ago. And, of course, our big race here is San Diego 100. And I actually didn't do that one first. I ended up doing another local 100-miler called Chimera.
Yep.
It's a beast. Oh, man. So my first one, right, going into it, no crew, no pacers. I just really wanted to, be within myself and kind of use everything I've gained since 2010 to complete it. And I did, and it was absolutely amazing. And so it wasn't enough though, right? I searched for that next thing, and luckily, Candace has her 200 milers that came out, and I was super passionate. I actually paced a friend the previous year for about 100 miles of it, and it was the best experience of my life. Oh man, it was amazing. I wanted to go back immediately. So that's where I got hooked.
That's funny. I think that's the first time I've heard someone pace somebody for 100 miles. You're right. Because usually are pacing 100-mile race, but it's 20 miles, maybe 50. So it is kind of fun to hear, I paced 100 miles. Like that's a legit experience.
Well, yeah, but it's a little bit different, right? Because you're there for, let's say 3 days, right? It takes the individual 3 days. and you're running for anywhere between, I don't know, 40 miles, 60 miles, and then, you go sleep for a little bit. You have some fun at the aid stations, and then you go back out and you start pacing him again. So it's just like a big kind of, I would say, like a festival, right? Essentially is what it really is. A running festival is what I kind of like about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it immediately hooked me, and that's where I am today. And I'm so hooked on it that I really want to run it again this year, as well as possibly Moab. So that's kind of where my passion is right now in terms of running.
So you're talking about the 200 milers, correct? When you're talking about this?
Yes.
So you did the Tahoe 200. That was last September, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is where I struggle, right? I mean, I've definitely looked at the 200-mile distance because it's kind of that next thing, if you will. But then I look at your time, or times in general, but 91 hours, 42 minutes. That is, I can't even comprehend that, to be honest with you. That's amazing. So, we break that down just a little bit, because I know there's people out there that are intrigued by that 200-mile distance. There's still not a ton of people that have done that, as far as, the race circuit goes. What's kind of the breakdown? How do you prepare for something like that? And do you just take naps throughout the night, throughout the day, whenever you need them? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a good story. I actually got chills right now when you just told me 91 hours, because it brings back so many memories immediately. But, I had a race plan just like anybody else. Of course, it doesn't matter the distance. You always have those goals, right? And so, of course, like going in, I trained really well. I've actually put in 100-mile weeks for the first time ever. I did pretty much everything that I knew that I needed to do to complete it. And I felt confident going in, strong, ready, and, things happen in a race. And unfortunately, when it's this distance, it compounds, right? So, when you say 91 hours, I look at that as a huge accomplishment. It wasn't my goal by far. I had 18 hours worth of unplanned aid station stops.
18
and I guess that's 18 hours. And, you asked that question about sleeping and eating. And really it's you ask a lot of people that's done them before, and it's a long hike. It's an adventure. And I maybe ran total of, I would say, 40, 50 miles of the 200-miler, at a good pace. And the rest was really just, grinding away. So using tracking poles was actually one of the things I've never done before. And I used it in the race, and it was a lifesaver. Oh, wow. Yeah, you have to do it with some type of pole. So that was definitely key. And going slow, really just enjoying it, knowing that you're going to be going through at least 2-3 nights. And I plan not to sleep, right? And that hit me pretty hard. I'm pretty good about not sleeping. And I found out quickly that that's not the case.
Well,
so
there's there's more and more out there on the 100-mile distance. If someone is interested in it or inquisitive, there's blogs, there's, all kinds of stuff that they can look at, but it's still not like mainstream. So when you're jumping into that 200-mile distance, where did you get your beta from? Did you reach out to people? Did you just kind of search the web? Where did you get some of that information when you're going in to do that?
I'm pretty lucky in the fact that I have a tremendous amount of friends that have either run the race or, that I could lean on to seek some information from. And one guy, he's one of my best friends, Sean Nakamura, has done it all 4 years. He's run the Tahoe 200, and he's actually the one that I paced the previous year. So I truly recommend that if anybody is wanting to do a 200-miler, that they go and experience it in some way, by crewing, by pacing, to really see what goes on for those 3 days. So I really pulled a lot from my experience the previous year, along with, again, just kind of chatting with, the individuals that are, close to us.
Gotcha. Now, as far as, when you do a 100-mile race, that's the only thing I can compare this to. I've never even thought of this, but feet and just your normal running stuff, blisters and chafing. I mean, was that just compounded even that much more on this race, or were you are you more dialed in with how your body handles that stuff?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I thought that I was pretty well secured in kind of gear I had and the preparation. And I knew that I had to do plan B, plan C, plan D. I knew that was going to happen. But also there was things that happened during the race that has never happened. Chafing was actually one of those things where it doesn't happen. And man, it was brutal because you're just out there for so long. You're pushing pretty hard. There's over 40,000 feet of climbing in the race. And so there's a lot of those things. The dust specifically in Tahoe was a killer for me. Having allergies was one of the reasons why I had 18 hours worth of stops. Wow. And so, yeah, it's just really going with the punches and knowing mentally that you can get through whatever situation, arises. But I did have my low points, probably the lowest I've ever had, but the highest I've ever had as well. You don't have cell phone reception out there. And if I did have cell phone reception, I probably would have made a few phone calls to Uber or something. I mean, it's really, honestly, your head going through so much. It's like, man, if I could just get a hold of somebody to come pick me up. But luckily that didn't happen.
So on this one though, did you have your crew and pacers and people set up to help you through this race?
Yeah, like every race, right? A couple months, you're kind of setting everything up, dialing in your pacers, making sure everybody knows what's going to happen during this, 3-4 day ordeal. And it fell through for me. I had 3 guys that were going to help me, just couldn't do it. And so I went into the race a day before with 0 pacers and crew. So yeah, it was pretty incredible, but I was fortunate enough to have some amazing friends that I run with, and they're really good ultra runners, step up. I had one buddy drive from San Francisco down and surprised me, and he saved my race. He truly did. It was at about 110 miles, and all of a sudden he shows up and he paces me almost the rest of the way. It was amazing.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a trail, angel kind of came and helped me out. But, again, going back to your question about really planning things out, man, you just got to really roll with the punches and know that whatever comes up, that you got to find another way.
Yeah.
And you got to get it done. So
that's incredible. Like I said, just in that 100-mile distance, because people that use crew and pacers, I mean, there's split charts and you're going to be here when, and there's that whole different level of anxiety just there. And I couldn't imagine the day before a 200-miler when you're kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'm on my own, and hopefully the aid station's going to hook me up.
Yeah, you know what though? Honestly, I don't really think about it that way. I mean, I pace and crew and volunteer as much as anybody, but really, if you are in a race and you don't have those things available to you, you still do. You still do truly have the 140 other runners that are out there with you. And yes, we got spread out, but I made some amazing connections with guys that, now I can call my friends. And, we shared hundreds of miles together, which is an amazing thing to experience with somebody that you've never met. And so that was my mindset, right? Hey, I didn't have the crew or pacers, but I knew I was going to have some people out there looking after me.
Yeah, and I think that's, we've talked about this on the show before, but I think that's what's so amazing about this trail or ultra community is that's pretty much at any race you go to, whether you have someone with you or not, you walk away with all these new friendships, because at the end of the day, regardless how fast, regardless how slow, you've all put the work in to be where you're at, and you all go through the exact same thing. You go through the same distance is the same for everybody. The climb's the same for everybody. The issues can be the same for everybody. So that's a great point for the people out there that may be nervous about heading into a longer race, whether it's a 50K, 50 mile. You're going to find somebody that's pretty close to your pace that you can team up with a little bit and work through it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Really, like I said, it's enjoy that journey. I know we hear that a lot, but it's one of those things where I will always go back searching for more of that adventure and that journey.
And so you say you're going to be running it again this year?
That's my plan. And you know what? I have big goals in mind, but as you may know, I mean, elevation culture is a big undertaking, and it takes up quite a bit of my time. And, you know, the biggest thing for me is getting out every day and trying to run. And, you know, as a up and coming entrepreneur, it's a little bit difficult at times. So yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know, keep you posted on that.
So, and you just brought it up. I mean, you are the owner, the founder, and designer at Elevation Culture. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. It's actually amazing when I hear that it's real, it's here. And I always have to have friends around me and mentors that say, hey, you got to really step back and see like what you truly have and what you're trying to do. And take that in. And it's the same thing as I really bring it into that running portion of my life. And it has parallels. But yeah, I started it about 2 years ago now. And the story's kind of funny of how it kind of became. So San Diego 100 was my second 100 miler. And of course, we all know we get a buckle, right, for running 100 miles. And I do come from a town of Western, you know, there's a lot of cowboys and stuff, but I'm not one to really wear a belt buckle. So I wanted to display it somehow and really have that piece on the wall that said, I did it.
Yeah.
And so I came up with this idea, and this is how it began. I strictly just went to Lowe's, got a piece of wood, and I could draw fairly well. And I took the elevation profile of the race, and I mapped it out on this piece of wood with the ink pen. And then I said, okay, well, maybe I can make this look a little bit more like a mountain scene in a very artistic way. And then I'm going to put that buckle on that piece of wood and display it in my house. And so I did that. And, you know, the power of social media, I took a photo, not knowing anything, just posted it. And, oh, man, I opened the floodgates. I had a bunch of people contact me and said, oh my God, that's amazing. Can you make one for me? I said, sure, I guess I can. And that was the kind of first thing that I created just for fun. And there's a lot of people out there that have the originals, which I'm always, you know, they always tell me like, Eric, I have your original artwork. And it's awesome to hear. But so how does that translate into what we do now? I mean, really, it came down to a couple things. You know, me being from Northern California, I had a buddy that I started ultra running with that started a company at the same time called San Joaquin Running Trails. And he puts on about 10 trail races a year, and they're all different distances. He even has a 100-miler. And he said, hey, can I use that artwork for an award? And I made a couple and I gave it to him, and, you know, the response was absolutely amazing. You know, that was my first race that I did. And it really, truly brought me into marrying both my passions for running and for design, because I have a design background. And I had a race director here in Southern California next. She asked me, can you make a medal? I said, I guess I can try. So again, I went to Lowe's, right? I got a saw, I got some wood, and I was in my living room sawing wood, right? Putting varnish on things. Of course, that wasn't a great thing to do in your living room, but that's how it started. It was just me saying, yeah, I'll try this. I'll put my creative spin on it and see what happens. And it worked, and it was amazing. And that was the beginning, and that's how it all started.
So what were you doing before all this? Did you have, you know, a 9-to-5 type job? What were you doing before this kicked off?
Yeah, so the reason I moved to San Diego was I got a job working at the largest running store pretty much anywhere. I won't name names, but I was working at a running store here in San Diego at their headquarters for about 2.5 years. And myself, I love helping people. I'm a U.S. track and field certified coach. I coach on the side, And it's always been, a part of me every day to touch somebody in terms of helping them, inspire them and or help them, create a goal and or accomplish it. And so, yeah, it was grinding away at the running store, 40, 50 hours a week. And, I still wanted to help people, but I wanted to do it in a different way. And I took that leap. I didn't have anything to start the business. I had no clue how to do it. And I kind of just jumped head first, and it was the best thing I could ever have done. That was kind of the jump off point, if you will.
Well, what you do, how did you ramp up? From going to Lowe's with a saw, because I've gone on your website. That's how I found you. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. I think it was through social media. I think I saw a post of some sort, and immediately I'm like, I got to get a hold of this guy. This is incredible. This is just next level, kind of so much more ties into the trail running community. What did you do to take that next step? From a saw and varnish in your front room to, hey, let's go full time.
Yeah, it really was an evolution. Again, very much translating into the trail, racing and running. It was an evolution. I just took it really as I owned it. And I really didn't have to do much, to be honest with you. I let it speak for itself. I was just getting contacted left and right from races that were like, hey, can you do this? And of course I would say yes. Me being me, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And it's really been that grassroots type of environment. And I still, to this day, continue to really own that grassroots piece of it. And it's incredible the amount of people and emails and phone calls that I get every day from, our fellow community ultra runners saying, hey, I love your stuff just like you did. What do you think about this? Can we do something different? And so that's where I think elevation culture has really begin to blossom, is from that creativity and also from who we are. I have some full-time employees that help me. Of course, I design everything and build them, but also I have a team of ultra runners and athletes that help create these things. And I think that's where, again, we're probably, bar none, the best, because we have athletes handcrafting everything that goes to every runner. And I'm proud to say that that's the way that it will continue to stay.
So you started this solo. What's your team consist of now, people-wise? How many people you got working with you?
Currently, right now, we have 2 full-time employees, and we have some part-time to help us out when we get really big orders. But I also am bringing in, it's kind of crazy to think about this, a director of operations.
Wow.
It's kind of funny to me, right? Because I come from just like a startup, essentially, is what we are. And, I'm throwing around these big titles and it feels really weird. But, I'm bringing somebody in to help just the growth. And here's my thing. I want to be able to be the one that you see at every trail race, every mountain sport there is. We really want to be bigger than a lot of brands out there. That's the goal. And so in order to get there, we got to have the right people to help us do that. And it is the community. It's the ultra and trail running community. These guys are super passionate. They're here at 5 a.m, cranking away, and it's amazing to see, and they inspire me every single day. So that's kind of the flow of elevation culture right now as it is. We do about 40 races a month now. It's quite a bit.
Wow. Well, and I think that's the neat thing is, for people that aren't aware, just go to elevationculture.com. You do medals, you do awards that are unreal. Like, that's the next step we're definitely taking here over at TrailManners. But the other cool thing you do, and I see a lot of this more and more, is people looking for someone to help them with a logo. And that's something you guys also dive into, right? Is help design and do that, correct?
Yeah. And so again, that's my background, right? Is the design piece of it. And so that's kind of my passion when it comes to how can I take my love of running and put it into a design to where people could look at it and say, I know where that came from. I want to be a part of whatever event that is because of where it came from. And, the logo piece of it is something that comes natural to me. And it's authentic, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And we put that mountain inspired design into everything we do, because it's a part of us. So yeah, podiums, I have wooden bottle openers. I mean, pretty much whatever you think of, we've probably done, and it's probably going to get bigger.
That's awesome. Cause that's when we first contacted you. We wanted something different, right? We were kind of the same boat. We were kicking off this TrailManners podcast. It was new. It was kind of our quote unquote business. We wanted to be a little different, and we thought, man, we want to throw something on our shop or hand out to some of our guests. And so we had you come up with an idea, and you designed it, not just the look, but the logo of a coaster for us. And I've got one right here sitting on my desk. It's kind of, to me, just a sweet piece because we've used this logo again. But man, you were all over it. I mean, and I think the best part about it is I'm not a design guy. Like, I can't tell people exactly what I want. I say, okay, I like mountains. I like a trail. We've got a bus. And you're like, got it.
Yeah.
What you came back to us with, I was blown away. Me and Joel were like, oh, this is sweet.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because a lot of race directors will say, I'm not creative. And that's where I'm like, don't worry about it. I will come up with something. If you have a few ideas, definitely shoot them my way. But really just let me kind of work with what my vision may be for what you're looking for. And I'm telling you, it's amazing, the race directors that we work with. But, 99% of everything that we create is from us. It's from my design. They don't let us run with it. And it's amazing. I love that part of it. But it's funny. Yeah, again, people say I'm not creative. My first answer or first question would be, do you run or go for a run? Yeah. Then you might be a little bit more creative, right? I do a lot of my thinking on a run. And we have trails right on the back of our warehouse, which I use as much as I can. So.
Well, and I think that's what's so unique about this is there is different companies and businesses and everything else, but when you're kind of that trail running or ultra running culture, there is that, and we use the word, and you have that vibe, right? I mean, it is what it is, and where you and your team there have that background, it's almost like you know exactly what people are talking about, you know exactly what people are looking for because that's who you are. Right. You're not a CEO from a IT company that just likes to woodwork and stuff. You actually have that love and passion for what you're not only designing, but who you're designing for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it goes back to, we work for the athletes. We work for the runners. That's the way I feel about it. When we create a medal for a race, we're really thinking about, this person's going to maybe run their first ultra, and we want to be a part of that. I want to be, we get to go to a lot of races, and I hope we can more in the future. We actually get to see firsthand what it truly means to them. And it's not about the medal. It's about what comes from the medal, right? It came from us, the community, the trail runners, and it's going to somebody that is going to have a future in it. We're trying to help as a smaller business within, our sport. We're trying to help grow it, really. And that's my goal, is to continue to get everybody to get on the trail and take that next step and feel what we feel when we cross the finish line. And I love when I get to put a medal around somebody's neck that I created. It's an amazing feeling. We have so many amazing stories that, we would love to tell about, those situations. Real quick, I had a friend that he ran his first 50K, and it was the first medal I ever created, actually, for that 50K. And it wasn't my best work. Oh man, it was the one I sawed and painted in the living room. But he remembers, and he tells me the story that he remembers me running out a mile to run him in, videotaping him, right? And he's just so tired and hurt, and he was so mad, and I can't remember what he said, but he said something to the effect that, like, leave me alone, or, you know, he had that stone cold face, right? He just wanted to get it done. But then when he crossed the finish line, I gave him a big hug, and I put that medal around his neck. And he says, every day I get to look at that on my wall, and I remember that moment that I had, one of my greatest accomplishments, and you were a part of that. Man, that gives me chills right now just thinking about that.
Yeah.
And really, that's why we do it, really, when it comes down to it. It's not about the medal. Yeah, I mean, really, I want to make something cool for everybody, but at the same point in time, it's so much more than that.
Well, and the way I look at it, too, is, you know, we've all done races, we've all done, you know, events, if you will, where you get a medal or you get a finisher's prize or whatever it is. And there's some, like, the traditional medal that are made of metal, but there's a lot of them that look the same. It's color, you know, and you see a lot of people put them in a drawer, put them away. The stuff you make is completely different, right? And the fact that it's stuff you want to showcase, and it's maybe not necessarily, oh, look, I did my first 50 mile or my first 100K or whatever it is, but it's art, right? And so when I put my stuff, like, I'll tell you, I've got 3 pieces on my desk, right? Or 2 pieces on my desk, 1 hanging, because that's how many things you've done for us. I don't look at it as, oh, this is like my coaster. You know, I look at it as, that's my company, the TrailManners Podcast, but it's also, you know, it's a piece of art, and people come and look at it and like, oh, cool, where'd you get that? And I think if you've made these accomplishments and you're able to display those, it's a piece of art, but you do get those every once in a while. When you glance at it, you get that memory, you get that nostalgia back. And it's not, you know, prefabricated or anything else. That came from somebody else that dug in and got after it. And that's why I'm just so, like, into what you're doing, is because I just see this whole gamut that you guys can cover, that just makes people happy. Yeah,
no, definitely. That's, again, why I get up in the morning and we work long hours, believe it. You know, as somebody that is really, like I said, that word, that entrepreneur word, is very much like that. And I really think about, it's, to me, ultra training. Right? You know, it's the same thing. You're putting a lot of hours, a lot of time on your feet, but it's all at the end of the day rewarding, just knowing that, you know, you've been a part of somebody's journey. And I think that we're only going to get bigger in a lot of different ways that I think that we haven't even thought of yet. And really, it comes down to, how do we service everybody? Right? We have a lot of cool ideas in the pipeline that you'll probably see pretty soon. But we just want to be a part of what's going on in our sport right now. You know, like I said, there's a lot of smaller companies coming out that we partner with, such as you guys, that we want to help along the way. So that's super important for me.
Well, and like you mentioned, that's the other reason, is we saw, you know, who you were, what you did. And so we had our little trail running festival in May. So we had a film night, and we're like, you know, it's a little bit, you know, we didn't budget for everything, but we wanted to make this event something people wouldn't forget. We wanted to make it like first class. And in order to do that, we wanted to pull out as many stops as we could. So we had you design a little piece of the Ogden Trail Running Festival with our logo, with the bus on it, and we just gave those away to everybody that came to the film. And part of it was, we want this to be a quality experience, and Joel and I are adamant that we will not brand, we will not sell, we will not give away junk, right? Could we get stuff for super cheap and give away? Absolutely. But it's, at the end of the day, it's our name, and we want our name to be associated with cool quality stuff. So we had you do this, but what blew me away, that I was just giddy over, was the next day, our race, you did our race medals. And to give you a quick story, the race was the Gib Wallace Memorial Race. And Gib Wallace was a gentleman in our area here in Utah, in the Ogden area, that was the godfather of the trail system. He is one of my heroes for sure, for what he's done. And so me and Joel started this race, and a lot of his family members were involved. And when you designed this medal, and it's actually on your website, ironically enough, it's just, it captures everything. And so when his family saw it, they were just blown away. They were expecting, when we said medals, they were expecting a cheap, you know, metal or plastic, you know, metal. But when they saw, when they saw what you did, the design, we gave you no direction. All right. I said, I want a cool metal. I gave you zero direction. And when you came out with this piece, I mean, it couldn't have hit home or hit a home run any better than it did. And so to have that connection with his family, his grandkids, his nieces, all of his family members, they were just over the moon with it. And for us, it was like, wow, I don't care about the rest. That was perfect. So, I mean, that's kind of what you bring to the table, though, is a lot more of that personal touch.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I'm surprised you haven't shared that with me before. It gives me chills just listening to, that piece of it's just so much more than that metal. And really, it comes down to, it doesn't have to be complex, right? It doesn't have to be, this really expensive material that you can only get in certain places. And, really it's made with that passion of the mountains, of what we do and what we want to accomplish. And I hope that we continue to find those stories and really share them, because I think they're important, because that's what keeps our trails going and keeping them, alive and able for us to get on them every day.
Yeah, and I can't stress this enough. I mean, here at TrailManners, myself, Joel, we've got nothing invested, nothing, but I cannot stress, if you do a race, if you're a race director, if you do or planning to do a race, if you know a race director, man, you need to get on Elevation Culture and check out what Eric and his team, they do, because it's so much better than 90+% of what you're going to get at a finish line. And if I'm in a race and I finish a race, I know what I've put into it. It's always nice to have a memento from that race, whether it's a medal, whether it's a coaster, whatever it is. But man, I can't encourage, if you're listening to this show, check these guys out. It's well worth it. And even on another note is, we had Anna Frost and Solomon was our title sponsor for the event, and you made us, and I'm talking about within 2 days, because we were behind and didn't think of it in time, some killer plaques. And when I handed them to both Anna Frost and to Mike Ambrose at Solomon, they were like, wow, this is awesome. Like, they were like, yeah, we get stuff sometimes from companies or whatever, but this is something we would actually put up. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't, but it was that person. I mean, the wood obviously kind of goes into the background of trail running and the people that are involved in it, but that's what we wanted to do. We didn't want to give them something that we would know would go into a drawer or in a garbage can. We thought we want to give them a piece of art. And so when we handed them to them and said, hey, we wanted to give you something to thank you, they both of them were like, wow, this is actually something we would, hang up, as opposed to, whatever they do with what else they get. So it's also great. Yeah, definitely. Stuff like that. So, and you came through with flying colors on that piece for sure.
Well, I'm glad that we can help out, definitely. And again, it comes back to anything is possible. Even, we do get some inquiries that are a few days prior to an event. I mean, look, that stuff happens and we understand. And I don't want the runners to go without anything, right? So we're going to do whatever it takes to ensure that, your experience, because that's really what it's about, is top notch. And, we want to be a part of that. And if we have to grind away, night after night, we're going to do that to help you and team up and really give everybody the best time they can have at your event.
And in your eyes, I mean, it's hard sometimes because you are the man behind the scene, but how has Elevation Culture been received? I mean, do you sometimes have to pinch yourself to say, wow, I can't believe, from a Lowe's front room to where I'm at now? I mean, how has it been received through the community?
It's a little bit, man, again, it's kind of that one thing where I have to pinch myself and really, this is what we're doing right now. And I still see it as a process, right? One foot in front of the other. I have that mentality just to keep going, and every single day it's something different. It's something challenging, right? Like that next, peak that you got to climb over, and what's on the other side. It's an amazing downhill single track section. And I know those things are going to come. And so, the receiving end is, it's amazing. Like I said, those stories that we get or what makes it all worth it. And, again, it's strictly grassroots. We're not going to be that company that does those advertisements. We really want to keep this, very intimate, because that's what our races are about. And, we receive emails all the time and phone calls and just like, hey, I saw your stuff, or hey, the race director from this race recommended you. And that's cool that the other race directors are actually doing that. They're not selfish, saying, oh, I'm going to keep Eric for myself.
Yeah.
and the cool things that he's done. I did have that happen actually a couple times, and I was blown away. So they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to share where I got my stuff from. And I was like, okay, thank you. But, yeah, we've learned some cool things along the way, and we're still learning. And I think that everybody understands that process because of who we're working with and who our audience is. And so, like I said, we're, hitting 40 races a month, climbing continuously, and it's only going to get bigger. And I hope that we can keep, just like I said, giving amazing experience to everybody, no matter how many races we do a year. It's always going to be that same level of commitment and that same level of handcrafted from an athlete.
Yeah.
Our roots.
Well, and I think, again, it's so noticeable. Like when you get the piece, it's not, mass produced, so to say. I mean, there is a personal touch, and it's very noticeable, and it's very obvious, kind of what goes into it, the quality behind it. And then just, again, it's art, and I think that's, at the end of the day, it's something you can keep and look at and have that nostalgia, to remember, like you said, when we brought it up earlier, oh man, I got chills thinking about 18 hours in aid stations, but those type of things help that thought process go. So when I come down to San Diego next, do I get a tour of the facility?
Yeah, no, definitely. We're actually trying to make this space a space where everybody can come and hang out. We're going to start a local, trail run from here. And again, people can come and look at the process. And I think that's kind of cool as well, that you can come and actually see your metal being made. And I don't know where you can get that.
Yeah. So what are some can't miss trail runs in San Diego?
Oh, wow. That's kind of hard. And believe it or not, people think San Diego, it's a beach, city, but we actually have the best of both worlds, because we have Cuyamaca State Park. You can get above 6,000 feet. That's where the San Diego 100 is run. That's where the PCT is. And then you go 30, 45 minutes down the road and you're at the beach. And so I think we have an eclectic piece of runs just spread across that area. And again, I think it's that type of race, right? So the type of runner that's out here, there's a lot of older type of races that's been around forever, and that is the coolest part. And so you can go and get your mountain race at the San Diego 100 or the PCT 50 miler, which is an amazing race that you can, get to check out the PCT, 50 miles of it. It's absolutely amazing. And we actually have a lot of races that are in the Anza Borrego Desert. So you're running through the desert, but then you get into this alpine section when you climb 2,000 feet. And so I think that's the cool part of it. It's really, you get all those different types of environments that makes the race just that much more enjoyable.
That's amazing. That PCT 50 is definitely one that's been on my list to check out, because I'd love to come do a race down there. I've had friends come down and do the San Diego 100. I've had friends do like Avalon, obviously not in San Diego, but I definitely would like to get an excuse to come down there, and then a little recovery on the beach, I guess.
No, yeah, definitely. It's like I said, we have snow a lot of times in those mountains. And like I said, you drive 40 minutes down the road and then you're at the beach when it's just amazing weather. So
that's hard to fathom, but that would be super cool. Well, man, Eric, I can't tell you how much we appreciate everything you've done for TrailManners. Again, it's what we were looking for to kind of go along with what we do, and the stuff's just quality. Like, we have no problem sending this stuff out to people. We proud to do it because it makes us look good too. So I first of all appreciate everything you've done for us, but also I think I speak for many, and especially myself, but appreciate everything you've done for the trail running community, because what you've done is taken that small business entrepreneur attitude, made something super cool out of it, but it's also something that's benefiting thousands of other people.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I'll take that with me the rest of the day. And it's more of an opportunity to just give everybody the best thing we can.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show and taking the time. I know you're busy, cranking out awards and medals for everybody, but again, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, kind of share your story a little bit. Would love to keep in touch to see what happens this September if you jump back out to the Tahoe 200. So you'll have to keep us posted on that too.
No, definitely. I appreciate it, guys. And, hopefully we can make it out to a race in your area soon and have some stories to tell. That'd
be awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Eric. Thanks again. Good luck with the future. I know it's bright. It's going to be huge for you guys because you just do things the right way and for the right reasons, which is a big part of the battle. Thanks again for taking the time to join us, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the TrailManners Podcast. We'd like to thank Eric Chrisman from Elevation Culture for joining us today from San Diego, California. You can check more of Eric and his gang out at Elevation Culture on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at TrailManners, or you can swing by our website at trailmanners.com. There on the store page, you can check out some swag and rights and some limited edition gear from Elevation Culture, or you can hit us up on the contact page, let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or even if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.